Now, allow me to introduce you. He is an author. Just launched a fantastic book, which we're about to talk about. He is a former member of the Scottish Guards. Fantastic achievement. And last, but by no means least, he is a former heroin addict. That's right, I said it, heroin addict. Ladies and gentlemen, a message I'm sending to you right now is, do not judge a book by the cover. If I'd have said those three things, those three accomplishments, because being a former heroin addict is a massive accomplishment in itself, trust me. If I'd have said those three accomplishments in reverse order, would we have even got as far as the Scottish Guards? For some of you, perhaps. For all of you, perhaps not. Don't judge a book by the cover, ladies and gentlemen. Don't judge a book by the cover. So, with that said, it is my pleasure to introduce to you, live, well, recorded, not live, but live to me, on the Caiman Show, my newly adopted Scottish cousin, I give you, Paul Bogey, will be joining us just as soon as we get our connection issues sorted. Then when we do, away we go. Hey, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfect, my friend, yeah. This is currently recording and we will use this from here, sir, okay? How are you?
Yeah, perfect. I'm good, thanks.
Good man. It's great to finally get hold of you, mate. Obviously, for people listening, we've had a few technical issues. Myself being over 40, I'm not the greatest with tech. So thank you for coming on and agreeing to have a natter with me, my newest and bestest Scottish cousin.
You're welcome. I'm 41 now, so I have my struggles with technology as well.
There we are, mate. We're in this together, man. We're all right. But
yeah, exactly.
How are you keeping anyway, man? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just plugging away. Trying to raise awareness. Just try to raise awareness in the book.
Yeah, good man. Well, so I'll help in any way I can, you mate. You know that. So let's just jump in and have a chat and see where we go, shall we?
Yeah, perfect.
Fantastic. All right, mate. So obviously the book is called Heroin to Hero, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So obviously you don't mind us talking about your past and everything because you've documented it in the book to help other people and raise awareness, etc. Yeah. So if you're happy, I'll just jump in and ask you, so where did you grow up? How was it for you? And if you could tell us as well, what, if you don't mind that is, Paul, what your first experience was with heroin. Where were you? Who were you with? How were you feeling at the time, sort of thing? Could you just talk us through that?
Yeah, so I grew up in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
I've got three brothers. My parents were relatively strict. It was quite a rough area that I grew up in. So there were always sort of drugs on the scene. Drugs and alcohol were rife in the area.
Yeah.
From a very early age. I dabbled in alcohol and cannabis a little bit growing up.
Yeah, that's where a lot of us start, man. It was like that for me as well.
And it was one of those things where the group of people that I was hanging around with were all the same. Nobody really touched hard drugs at all. It was just cannabis and alcohol, really.
Yeah.
And then when I got to the age of 18, heroin had flooded into the area.
What was it like? The new big thing, was it?
Yeah, well, it just took everyone by surprise. People prior to that took heroin generally died.
Yeah.
There was a lot of needles. I remember I played a lot of football when I was younger, and there was always needles about. And at school and by my parents, we got taught that heroin kills.
Yeah.
So, when at the age of 18, when it hit the area, literally, I would say probably 90% of the friends that I was hanging around with started to smoke heroin.
Yeah.
Chase the Dragon.
Chase the Dragon on the foil, yeah. Yeah, I'm aware.
And then it was, that was my first encounter with heroin. I didn't realise back then that you could smoke it.
No.
So when I first got my flash off tinfoil, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what all my friends were doing.
Oh my God, man, this sounds like such a similar story to one of my past, mate. Honest to God, I was there. I was in a flat. I'd been smoking weed at the time. I'd had a few tamazis as well. Green eggs, they were called down here in the Welsh Valleys. One of the boys said to me as I was sinking in an armchair, "Do you want a toot?" I could see him smoking something. I was like, "Yeah, cool, I'll have a toot." And next thing you know, I had a toot. I chased the dragon on the foil, and they said to me then, "You know what that was?" And I was like, no idea. And then, the elephant in the room appeared then. It was H, it was heroin,
Yeah, and I think obviously we're similar ages, so growing up, you may have been under the same impression as me that heroin was taken by needles.
Absolutely. I didn't even know what a toot was. I didn't even know what chasing the dragon was. I didn't even know what foil was.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And I think when I go back to, it's over 20 years ago now, but when I go back to that time, I think that because I was smoking something, it seemed less dangerous.
Less dangerous, and it sort of excused it a bit, yeah?
Yeah, and I suppose in a sense, I believe that you couldn't become addicted to heroin through smoking it.
I hear you.
Yeah, so again, it's one of those things where you just you just think it's relatively safe. You're smoking.
Yeah.
You're not touching needles.
That's it. So you can't get addicted. Yeah. But how wrong were you, eh?
Yeah. Well, it was maybe a month, maybe just over a month, when I went from smoking it every single day.
Yeah.
And then there was a drug bust. And all the police were everywhere, and obviously all the heroin dealers went underground. So we couldn't get heroin.
Yeah, it was out of reach.
And then that was the time that I realised that everyone had become addicted. Because
that's when the moment of truth hit home. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd been smoking it every single night. All my friends had started smoking it a couple of weeks prior to me, so I was a little bit behind. But I remember seeing my friends going cold turkey. They were in my car. And
jeez, man, not a pleasant sight.
No, they were just... I'd never seen it before. To be honest, I didn't understand why they were moaning so much. And they all looked really, really unwell. And at that point, because I was 2 weeks behind them, I didn't feel as severe as they were. I had a little bit.
You were a few steps behind still. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I had a little bit of stomach cramp, and I felt a little bit shivery and stuff, but nothing that would concern me. Once we had got the heroin, I seen how much my friends changed physically. They were moaning off not being well, stomach cramps, shivering, and then all of a sudden they're very happy. All the pain's away. And then when I took it myself, I noticed as well, I never had stomach cramps anymore. I never felt shivery at all.
Yeah.
And I had to wait another few weeks until there was actually another drug bust. There was a few weeks later where obviously again we've been continually taking it, and we went up, and it was pretty much the same situation. We couldn't get it. Everybody was needing it. Everybody was moaning, but this time I was in the same boat as them. Like,
yeah, you played catch up by then and got on
totally
the same
feel,
page. Yeah.
I suppose what they had been feeling before, and how more severe it was to the symptoms that I'd felt the few weeks prior.
Yeah, well, you previously been questioned.
Yeah, and then that was sort of when I first realised that I was in trouble. When I took, when I took it, and then I became better physically, I realised I was in trouble at that point, because every time I was going to feel like I'm going into cold turkey, I'm going to reach out for heroin to make me feel better. And I was then, for the very first time, sort of realising that I had become a heroin addict.
And where did it go from there then? So it went on from there. How long were you on it? And when did you decide to yourself, right, I've got to start thinking about turning this around?
So in total, I was on it for 7 years.
Wow, that's a long time in heroin.
Basically, the first 5 years were constant heroin. Then I got a methadone prescription from the doctor. Then that opened a whole different can of worms for me, because
it does. I never tried that. Would you say that that's more addictive, or as addictive, or what? Or is that
for me,
a bit of a myth?
It's just as addictive as heroin, if not more.
Yeah.
It's a pharmaceutical man-made drug that's extremely strong. It's a heroin substitute.
That's it, yeah. A lot of people, I used to work as a support worker for homelessness, so as you can imagine, a lot of people came in on heroin, coming off heroin, detoxing, cold turkeying, and a lot of those were on the meth as well, methadone. And they told me it's more addictive than heroin itself.
Because certainly for me, myself, and all my friends that were on methadone, basically right at the very start, I was getting methadone, which I could sell on the street, because there was always people looking to buy methadone outside the chemist. So you could get your prescription of methadone, you could sell it, and then go and buy heroin. So, and then
that's it.
What ended up happening with me was I got my methadone prescription, but I still had an addiction to heroin. Although it's a substitute and it took away my withdrawal symptoms and stuff, it held me okay. I still had a want and a need to chase the dragon. I had an addiction to the tutor, I had an addiction to the foil, I had an addiction to the smell.
That's it, and everything about it.
So then I began taking my heroin and methadone at the same time. And
jeez, that's a cocktail for disaster.
Basically, I just became a bit of a zombie. My whole life was a bit. I remember how strong it was when I was taking both of them at the same time, and I'd done that on and off for such a long time that made me go deeper in, I suppose, to all the drugs. And you're only supposed to, in a doctor's eyes, you should only take one or the other. And there was me taking both of them at the same time, and and it was probably the worst. Some of the worst states that I ever got in when I took both of them at the same time. So then, as time went by, I jumped from heroin to methadone. When I took heroin, I took a much reduced amount of methadone. The last 2 years, I was I wasn't on heroin all the time. I was still addicted to the heroin. So what would happen is I would continue taking my methadone and all my prescription tablets. I was taking Valium. I was taking antidepressants. Then, whenever I was able to get money and I could afford heroin, I would take my methadone, and it would be, I suppose, more like a treat, if I can call it that.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, it wasn't something that I was doing every day then. It was maybe...
Yeah, it wasn't something you were like dependent on. It was just like, right, I want this, right?
It's the weekend or it's Friday night. Everybody's getting drunk. Well, I'm going to get a bag of heroin.
Yeah.
And
this is my drunk. Yeah, I get you.
Uh-huh.
Can I just ask, Paul? Can I just ask? Were the friends of yours doing this alongside you at the same time, or had you gone beyond them now and taken your own path?
I think I kept the same friends that I had certainly for the first 5 years. We were all in it together.
Yeah.
But what happened was money ran out. We had used up all our resources to generate money. There was a lot of snidiness. There was a lot of lying. There was a lot of
a lot
of cheating,
anyway,
and then
always.
it got like for instance, it's £20 for a bag of heroin. So I remember one night I got £20, and one of my friends was starting to go cold turkey. So we went up to get a bag of heroin. We came back to my house, and I shared the bag of heroin with him in the house. And he said, tomorrow night I'm getting my gyro. So when I get my money, I will get a bag. Yeah, and I'll return the favour. So the following day, I think, don't have to worry because my mate's getting one, so I won't go cold turkey.
And then you're exactly.
I was totally trustworthy, naive, thinking he's going to do it. So I remember I go to the house.
I know where you're headed.
I knock on the door. His mum comes to the door. Says, I'm not say his name, but says, "Is my mate there?" And then she went, "No, he left this morning, son. He was away to get his gyro, and I've not seen him since." And then, obviously, I later found out that he had taken his gyro money. He'd went up and got a bag of heroin, and he was smoking it with other people. So he had been smoking it with my other friends. And basically, that was the way that things had become, where you were relying on your friends to stick to their word. There was a lot of sleekiness, and then it was it got to the point where it was every man for himself, and I realised that.
Yeah, that's it. It is. They say it's a
100% very selfish, and it was just a shame because then you don't trust your friends, and most likely they don't trust you. So it's very difficult, and then when you have to start fending for yourself in the drug world. Certainly where I was, it was a dangerous place to be. It was a dangerous area. There was a lot of knife crime. There was a lot of people getting robbed.
Yeah.
Then when you were having to source your money yourself, you were having to go into these areas where no one knew you, really. And you were having to go and tap on windows and doors of drug dealers, heroin dealers, in the hope, in the hope,
in desperation,
when they take their £20 off you through the letterbox, you're standing there in the stair, thinking, if they don't come back through that letterbox and hand me a bag of heroin, I'm done, because I'm not going to start kicking the door and banging the door, because I'm going to get stabbed. Yeah, so
that's it.
You had that sort of trust as well. Fortunately, that never happened to me. So every time I handed my £20 through the window or through the letterbox, the heroin always came back to me. What was really bad back when I was taking it was people would dike the bag. So,
what do you mean, diking the bag? What do you mean, dike the bag?
For instance, if I met you in the street corner, and you say, I can get you heroin, or I can get you a bag. So you give the person the £20. They go away to the heroin dealer that they know. They get the bag of heroin and they open it up, and then they're taking half. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes they would take as much as half out of the bag of heroin, tie it back up, come back along the street and hand you it. And again, it was one of those situations where you couldn't really question.
No, that's it. It's not like you've got a receipt or anything and you can take it back to the shop and say,
you just had to accept that the person had biked it. It was clear that they had biked it, and you still had half a bag of heroin, so you weren't going to be cold turkey. So
that's it. Yeah. You still had a bit of a hit.
Exactly.
What you originally had in mind, So from there then, from that stage in life, at what point did you decide you needed to turn it around?
I'd got really bad with drugs, and I'd got really bad with depression. I had become suicidal. Then it got to the stage where I almost took my own life, and the morning after, when I woke up, fortunately, I remember waking up and getting a right fright, thinking, you almost committed suicide last night. So
so I was sounds familiar, man. This sounds familiar.
I need help. So not just with the drugs, but with my mental health. So I started seeking help anywhere.
From
so I went to the doctor, and they had put me onto a place called Turning Point. They deal with drug users. So I went there, and then through attending that course, I didn't manage to stop. I relapsed 13 times. Then I got an opportunity to do a course about the mind, how your mind works. And I attended that course, and then I think it was a good few months after I had enough in the drug life. I didn't want to commit suicide. I wanted to try and stop and change my life. Yeah, and that course taught me that
yourself,
it's my choice. And I was forever I was forever looking to my parents, my doctor, the government, my friends. I was looking for other people to help fix me. And I realised right after doing that course that the only person that can fix me is me. And then from that point, that's it. I'm not taking heroin ever again. That was almost 17 years ago.
Yeah. And is that from that point you haven't?
So
you haven't at all?
After attending that course, and I realised that it was a choice, Yeah, I
that was
knew
the turning point.
I would never touch that drug again for the rest of my life. And
excellent. Well done, by the way. Well done. By the way.
I'll be 17 years on May the 14th, so we're almost at 17 years.
Mate, that's absolutely fantastic, though, going from that, to this. Look at the total contrast in lifestyles, and it's just amazing. And I saw you, I was looking at you on social media last night, you were doing a live feed, and,
thank you, mate, I appreciate it.
Be real proud. No, I mean it. That's amazing. I really, I know we've never actually physically met, but, I love your story. I love what you've done, and I think other people can relate to it and grab onto it and perhaps see that from this there is some light to the end of that dark and
no, one day we'll meet, my mate, because I'm due to come down to Wales, so I would love to come down and meet you as long as you don't suplex me.
I've got two blown out knees now, man, so I don't know about a suplex. I still got a clothesline in me or something, but you're in good hands, mate. You're all right. Yeah, no, that'd be my pleasure, man, to go for a cheeky beer or something when lockdown's up. But,
yeah, brilliant. I've had an amazing amount of support in what I'm doing from Wales. Unbelievable, actually, more than any other country.
Wow, excellent.
I held a boxing event, and it was supposed to be down in Wales. So obviously, being ex-military, we had arranged to do the boxing event in Brecon. So
all right, okay, yeah, they got a big
that's the military training ground. So we were going to go and do the professional boxing charity event there. And COVID meant that we're not going to be allowed into Wales. So we ended up doing it in England, in the Yorkshire Dales. But I got some people to know me from Wales, and they kept in touch with me through social media and stuff. And they sent up...
Brilliant, man, brilliant.
They sent up sleeping bags for the homeless people in Scotland. They sent up boots, socks, tents, and it was a homeless charity, Homeless Hope they're called, in Wales. They sent up all this stuff for the Scottish rough sleepers, and
that's amazing.
They went onto my Just Giving, they put £150 into my Just Giving, and it was just amazing. And then from there, I've had many book sales as well from people down in Wales, and they message me and they say, I'm down in Swansea or down in Cardiff, or I'm down in Wales, and I've just bought your book because it's amazing what you're doing. And I think I love it, to be honest.
Brilliant,
so I'm dead.
Brilliant, man. Well, I obviously we haven't met, but we only social media met last night, really, don't we? So it's like, I'll be buying your book. I'll be looking forward to reading it. Did you want to talk next about the book, or did you want to go into the military first? We've mentioned the military now, but we haven't said how you got there, sort of thing.
Yeah, so after I got off heroin and I started exercising, I started boxing, lifting weights, running everywhere, all over Edinburgh.
Excellent stuff. That's
it was like Forrest Gump.
That's a lot of running.
Then I got extremely fit over the space of the next 5 years. I got really fit, and I wanted something to do with this newfound fitness. And I ended up joining the Scots Guards. And that was...
excellent stuff, man. Fantastic.
I went to basic training. I passed out a guardsman. I went down to Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle, stood outside with my red tunic and my bear skin and my rifle. And it was just a crazy... It's just a crazy transformation. Yeah.
Journey? Yeah. Did you think to yourself while you were there, honestly, because obviously you did while you were there, while you stood there thinking to yourself, taking everything in, were you looking back, just imagining yourself all that time ago, just knocking on a door, holding your hand out by a letterbox, hoping something would come out, and then looking at how far you've come, the transformation, where you are?
It's like what we were saying last night, when I mentioned about people crossing over the street because I was a drug user. And I suppose it's a little bit like that. I remember the police. We got a massive amount of respect from the police officers in London because we were guardsmen. And I remember being outside Buckingham Palace and thinking about my life and my drug past, and thinking, these police officers are calling me sir and being really nice to me. 4 or 5 years previous to that, they would have moved me on.
Mate, we are so similar. Oh my God, such similar stories. This is amazing. Yeah, I can relate as well. I've been in the back of a few vans as well in the past. It's not a pleasant place to be. I don't want to be in one again, and I don't intend on being. But carry on.
Yeah,
man.
but it was like that. It was like, wait a minute, all these police officers actually are showing me respect, and I've hid from police my whole life, and standing outside Buckingham Palace, and you've got a little bit of time to ponder your thoughts and ponder your life and stuff. And I just thought it's just an amazing turnaround. Then I got sent back to Catterick to start my pre-deployment training to go to Afghanistan. I was 2 months. Yeah. 2 months prior to me going to Afghanistan, I was in a serious car crash, and my friend crashed the car passing Otterburn, passing Newcastle. He crashed the car, and I broke my back and crushed my spine. So I spent a month in hospital, and it was clear, even although I was going back to the army to do my rehabilitation, it was clear that my first tour wasn't going to happen. I couldn't pick up my friends anymore. And I couldn't pick them up with all their weight on and the rifle and everything. I couldn't do it anymore. So in 2015, I got medically discharged. Yeah.
Was that a big blow for you?
Yeah.
Or was that a stupid question?
Yeah, it was huge.
Obviously, it was a big blow.
The accident had crushed my spine physically, but the medical discharge and not going to Afghanistan with all my friends, seeing them coming back and getting their medals, that crushed my soul.
Yeah.
But the sting in the tail was that all the spinal surgeons and all the army doctors, civilian doctors, physios, all agreed that I was going to be on prescription medication for the rest of my life. Opiate medication. So, and they all said, like, we're fully aware that you used to be a heroin addict, and we're a little bit worried that you're going to be on tramadol, you're going to be on cocodamol for the rest of your life. But unfortunately, because of your injury, you're going to just have to accept it. So that started a chain of events where I became depressed again. Not as severe, but I was getting depressed, and then I ended up having a breakdown. And I think that was just a build-up of everything. My army career, no fault of my own, my army career was ended. I was back a drug addict again. I was relying on these opiate medications, and then in March, at the start of lockdown, I was really in a bad place until March. Then I had been writing this book for over 16 years.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So basically what it was actually a drug counsellor that advised me to start writing down how I feel. So I'd done that way back whilst I was on heroin, and I accrued quite a lot of paper. I had stories to tell about the army.
Yeah.
I had stories to tell about boxing and going to the gym, getting better. So then at the beginning of lockdown, I thought, you know what? We're on lockdown. I'm going to finish this book once and for all. So I got pen and paper out. I sat up for 3 days without any sleep, and I literally just wrote and wrote and wrote until it was done. But what happened was, when I was actually writing about attending that course about my mind, and I remember writing, and I was re-educating myself about how I broke my heroin addiction, and I had a light bulb moment again, where it was like, whoa, right, it's your choice. So obviously at that time I was depressed. I just had a breakdown, and I realised, wait a minute, you're not right. You don't feel right. It's your choice. So I decided to try and stop my prescription medication.
Well, did you call Caiman, or did you wean yourself off?
I just tapered off all my tablets over the space of 2 or 3 weeks. And to my surprise, shock, horror, the pain in my back wasn't any worse. No, it was no worse than what it usually was. And, that's me 10 or 11 months off. I'm completely drug-free now. And it was, initially I got really angry, because all these professionals had told me to be on these tablets for all those years, and
they pretty much.
And then I started abusing my prescription medications. I became a drug addict again, and then I realised over those few weeks that the back pain was just the same. It wasn't any better, and it wasn't any worse. So that's when I decided to come off all my drugs, everything, and that's where I'm at now. And I published the book on Amazon. I'm
brilliant,
helping the homeless people in Scotland. So all the profits from my book go to homelessness in Scotland.
Paul, that's absolutely amazing. That's giving something back as well. That's just.
We were talking a little bit about the support from Wales. Well, I was seeking these military sleeping bags because they are so much better than civilian sleeping bags. So I thought, with the money from the book, I want to spend all the money that I've generated on military sleeping bags for the homeless. Phoned around all over Scotland. And we don't do them, Paul. Sorry, we don't do them. We'd love to help. We don't do them. I actually got a contact down in Wales, at all places. I contacted the boy Lee, spoke to him, and I was like, "Hi, mate." I says, I explained in a nutshell about my life. I says, I've got a few £1,000s here, and I'm looking for as many military sleeping bags as I can get. He gave me a huge discount on the sleeping bags, and he shipped pallets of sleeping bags up to my home address in Scotland. And
that's awesome. Just awesome.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And then I went from there, and I distributed them all across Scotland, Aberdeen, Edinburgh, Fife, Dundee, and just shipped them out all over the cities. And, that's where I'm at now. I'm still...
That's brilliant, man. You're doing awesome things, it's just great. With that book, you could have lined your pockets and, made a nice bit of pocket money out of it, but what you're doing is so admirable. You're just giving something back to the community and everything, to the homeless.
Thank you,
it's a nice thing to do, man. I like it. Nah,
So that's,
good on you.
that's what I'm doing now. I'm just on social media, trying to raise awareness. And I suppose during lockdown, there's not much more I can do. I'm making a feature film. I'm making a documentary about my life.
Brilliant.
I've got loads of exciting things set up, charity events and stuff, but nothing can happen until after lockdown, mate. So,
mate, well, send me any links or anything you want to, and anything you want plugged or anything as well. Or if you want to just come back on and have a natter about anything and everything, feel free anytime, mate. It's been nice having a chat. I know you've got other stuff on this evening, haven't you? Do you need to shoot off?
Yeah, I've got. I'm live on TikTok and Facebook at 6:00 reading from my book.
No problem, my man. No problem, my Scottish cousin. That's fine. Well, you've got about 7 minutes on my clock to prepare for that now, all right? But
I'll definitely come back on though, if that's okay.
Yeah, definitely, mate. 100% come back on. There's so much more we can talk about. I'm thinking this is tip of the iceberg shit we got here now, So
yeah,
but we're bouncing off each other pretty well. We can talk to each other easy as well, I think. So and you're definitely welcome to come down Wales and flip the cap off a couple of beers with me sometime, man. That'd be quality. And we'll compare stories face to face then when all this lockdown palaver's over.
Yeah, 100%. Looking forward to it.
Cool, man. Well, plug your book one last time.
Okay, so the name of my book is Heroin to Hero. It's available on Amazon. It's $12.99 for the paperback. It's $9.99 for the ebook. I will be down Wales, so if you do get a copy, I'd be more than happy to sign it for anyone.
Cool. Well, I'll be first in line for that one, then, bro. I'll order a copy, and you can sign it when you come down for a beer. How's that sound?
Perfect. Thank you.
Top man. Well, Paul, it's been a pleasure talking to you, mate. So definitely going to keep in touch. Thanks again for coming on and sharing those personal stories. A lot of them were personal things. Do appreciate it. Hopefully, someone listening will, be able to relate and get some help from it. And take some inspiration from it as well.
Yeah, hopefully.
Very similar stories, man. Very similar stories, very similar past. But I'm going to let you go. You've now got 5 minutes to get on and do your stuff, all right? So thanks again for coming on. Keep in touch, and I shall speak to you soon, man. All the best with the book, all right?
Brilliant, mate. Stay safe.
Cheers, man. Take care, my Scottish cousin. All the best.
Bye-bye.